The monks said Padre Pio often paused before speaking of judgment. He carried a quiet heaviness that seemed older than his years. Some nights he spoke softly, almost as if he were remembering something too sacred for ordinary words. He once whispered that a single moment after death reveals a truth no earthly mind can endure. A truth that strips away every defense. A truth that leaves the soul standing bare before perfect love. And in one rare account, he described what happens when a soul who betrayed love is placed before the light of God. He said the soul does not flee. It cannot. It simply beholds what it once avoided. And in that beholding, it understands everything it denied. Padre Pio never gave a name. He never described the face. He only said the soul appeared to him in a moment of desperate clarity. A soul that had wounded another through a quiet betrayal. A soul now held in the stillness of pure truth. He said its cry was not loud. It echoed from inside. A cry that pierced him like a winter gust slipping through stone walls. This was the mystery he left us. A mystery that lingers long after the story is heard. A mystery that touches the conscience of anyone who has ever hidden a truth. The friary at night often became a thin place for Padre Pio. A place where the veil trembled. A place where souls passed through seeking prayer or mercy or recognition. Some entered in gratitude. Others came in need. But that night, the air carried a weight unlike the rest. The hallway was dim. Only a single lamp burned at the far end. Its flame wavered as if stirred by something unseen. Padre Pio walked slowly, his steps softened by the old stones beneath him. Then he halted, suddenly and without hesitation. The presence had arrived. He felt it before he perceived it, a cold pressure against the heart. A silence that grew heavy, as if time waited for something to unfold. He lowered his eyes. He did not need to look, he knew. A soul stood before divine judgment. A soul that had lived in shadows of its own making, a soul confronting the truth it never wished to face. He felt its terror, its regret, its sudden recognition of what betrayal becomes when exposed to holy light. There were no flames, no thunder, only truth. And truth was enough to shatter every illusion the soul once clung to. Padre Pio breathed slowly. He did not speak, he only listened. To the cry no ears could hear, to the sorrow no words could carry, to the moment when the soul finally understood itself. This is where the story begins. In the thin silence between worlds. In the place where judgment is not punishment, but revelation. And now the path opens before us. A path that leads deeper into the mystery Padre Pio once glimpsed. A path that invites us to listen the way he listened, with reverence, with trembling, with the stillness of a heart that knows truth is near. The presence lingered in the dim corridor. Padre Pio did not move. He stood as if listening to something far beyond the reach of mortal hearing. The soul's sorrow spread through the air like a thin mist. It was not the sorrow of being caught. It was the sorrow of seeing itself clearly for the first time. A sorrow that comes only when the light of God reveals what the heart once hid. Padre Pio felt the weight of it settle around him. He understood what few are willing to admit. Betrayal does not begin with a grand act. It begins with a whispered compromise. A small deception, a quiet turning of the heart away from truth. He once said that the soul becomes what it chooses. And when a heart chooses deceit, the choice does not remain small. It sinks deeper. It becomes a habit, a way of surviving, a way of hiding even from oneself. This is why the stakes are so profound. The soul he sensed that night had not realized how each small untruth had shaped it, how each hidden intent had carved a new direction until the entire inner life faced a different horizon. And when judgment came, that direction stood exposed. Padre Pio whispered once that God does not shout at the soul. God simply reveals, and the soul sees everything, not with earthly eyes, but with an understanding that burns like light. The danger is not that God condemns. The danger is that the soul finally comprehends what it freely chose. Padre Pio felt the tremor of that realization ripple through the presence before him. It was like watching a wound open after years of being tightly bandaged. The truth poured in. The soul had nowhere left to run. He sensed its longing, its desperate reach for something it had rejected. It wished to rewrite its past, but judgment does not rewrite. Judgment reveals, and revelation is enough to break even the strongest pride. The monastery corridor grew colder. The lamp flame fluttered as though touched by a quiet breath. Padre Pio closed his eyes. He knew this moment would come for every soul, not with spectacle, not with wrath, but with stillness. A stillness in which every intention, every secret, every unspoken motive stands uncovered. The stakes rise not because God is harsh, but because truth is unyielding. A soul that has betrayed love must face what love truly is. A soul that has hidden from truth must face truth without disguise. A soul that has woven deception must stand in a place where nothing can be hidden. Padre Pio prayed silently, not to lessen the judgment, but to steady the soul, to help it bear the weight of seeing itself, to help it understand that even in this painful clarity, mercy still waits. But mercy cannot be grasped by a heart that clings to falsehood. It must release every mask, every excuse, every lie spoken in fear or pride. The stakes are not about punishment. They are about transformation, and transformation can be terrifying when the soul has lived far from the truth. The presence trembled. Padre Pio felt its fear deepen, then shift as if something within it began to awaken. This was the moment he feared for every soul. The moment when darkness recognizes itself in the mirror of divine light and must choose whether to despair or to turn toward mercy before it is too late. The trembling presence did not fade. It thickened, like a veil settling over the corridor. Padre Pio sensed a shift, a stirring in the unseen world, as if another truth were preparing to surface. He breathed slowly. He had felt this pattern before. Judgment was never a single flash. It came in waves, revelation after revelation, each one peeling back another layer of the soul. And then it came. A sudden stillness so complete that even the flame in the distant lamp froze in place. Padre Pio recognized the sign. Heaven was not finished. The soul had more to face. He felt a ripple of anguish pass through the presence. Something deeper was being unveiled. Not the betrayal itself, but the reason behind it. The wound that gave birth to the wound. Padre Pio once said that God never reveals sin without also revealing the moment grace was refused. Not to torment the soul, but to show it the truth it avoided and the help it ignored. The friar's heart tightened. He understood what was coming. The soul was being shown the very instant when it could have chosen honesty, when grace brushed its heart like a soft whisper, when truth stood near enough to reach, and the soul turned away. He felt its cry surge again, not louder but deeper, like a river breaking through stone. Padre Pio lowered his head. He could almost hear it speak, though no sound left the air. It was the cry of a soul realizing that betrayal begins long before the act. It begins in a quiet moment when light is offered and refused. The monks later wrote that Padre Pio never spoke casually of these visions. He carried them like secret burdens. He knew each one was meant to awaken someone still living, someone who thought their hidden choices did not matter, someone who believed time would always wait, but time does not wait. And the soul before him was learning this in the most painful way. Padre Pio raised his gaze. The corridor felt narrower, as if the walls themselves were drawing near to witness the unfolding truth. He sensed the soul's trembling shift again, from fear to something like recognition, as though it finally understood the pattern of its life and how one small compromise led to another and another, until love itself became a stranger. This was the rehooking moment, the twist in the unseen narrative, when a soul realizes that God had been calling it long before judgment arrived, and that each ignored call, each softened whisper returned, now not in anger but in truth. Padre Pio whispered a single word, a name only heaven heard. Not the name of the betrayer, but the name of hope, because even in this late hour he believed hope still could reach. And in the dim corridor, between one breath and the next, he sensed heaven prepare to reveal something deeper still. The corridor seemed to stretch into a deeper shadow. Padre Pio felt the unseen move again, not as a threat, but as a revelation drawing near with the quiet patience of eternity. He took a single step forward. The stones beneath his feet felt colder. The air thinned as if the world were holding its breath. The soul's presence hovered close, closer than before. It carried a heaviness that spoke without words. A heaviness built over years of small choices and smaller excuses. Padre Pio sensed that heaven was about to show the hidden story behind the betrayal. Not the act itself, but the journey that led the soul to it. He stood silently. He allowed the moment to unfold as gently as opening a fragile door. Then it began. He felt a surge of memory that was not his own. It brushed against him like a cold wind. A memory of a younger heart, once capable of tenderness, once able to trust before fear quietly entered. Padre Pio realized the betrayal that shattered another life did not begin in malice. It began in a wound the soul never allowed God to heal. He felt the echo of that wound, small, unnoticed, yet powerful enough to bend the soul away from truth. He saw how resentment grew slowly, like ivy across stone, how pride whispered its soft poison, how silence became a hiding place, and how the soul learned to protect itself with shadows. The monks often said Padre Pio understood suffering the way a tree understands winter. Not as an enemy, but as something permitted for reasons the heart must discover. He understood now that this soul had feared vulnerability, feared being seen, feared what love might require. And in that fear, betrayal found its birthplace. The presence trembled again, not from divine judgment, but from recognition. Painful, clear, undeniable recognition. Padre Pio felt the tremor pass through him, almost as if the soul were asking whether there had been another way, whether the road to truth could have been chosen sooner. He whispered gently, his voice barely touching the air, "Grace was calling you." He did not accuse. He did not condemn. He simply named the truth as tenderly as a father naming a child, because he saw another layer now. A pattern heaven was revealing. A moment years before when light had touched the soul with a quiet invitation. A moment that could have changed its entire life. A moment ignored. The weight of that lost chance fell like a soft stone in the silence. Padre Pio bowed his head. He could feel the soul sinking under the vision, not in despair, but in sorrow, the kind that breaks open the heart. The corridor around him grew warmer, as if heaven had drawn a little nearer. The lamp flame swayed, and for an instant it seemed to stretch toward the unseen presence like a small hand reaching. Padre Pio understood. This was not only judgment, it was mercy cutting through illusion. Mercy revealing truth so the soul could finally turn. He felt the presence shift again. Uncertain aching, ready for something it had long resisted. And from deep within the silence, Padre Pio sensed that the next revelation would be the one that broke everything open. The soul was about to see the full consequence of its choices, not as punishment, but as truth arriving at last. The air around Padre Pio tightened, as if the unseen world leaned closer, waiting for the moment when truth would finally strike. He felt the shift before it arrived, a slow gathering of something vast and solemn and impossibly gentle. The soul hovered near him like a trembling light. Its sorrow deepened, its longing widened. Its fear quieted into a stillness that felt like surrender. Padre Pio lifted his gaze, and then heaven unveiled the final vision. It came without sound, without movement, only light. A muted radiance spread across the corridor, though no lamp had brightened and no dawn was rising. This was a light not of the world, but of the one who formed it. The soul stood within that light, not with a body, not with form, but with the clear shape of its interior truth. Padre Pio could sense every contour, every fracture, every fragile thread that held the soul together. Then the revelation struck. The soul was shown the person it betrayed, not in anger and not in vengeance, but in truth. The betrayed stood bathed in the same holy light, their heart open before God, their wounds visible yet somehow held in divine tenderness. The soul cried out though no sound touched the air. The cry rushed through Padre Pio's spirit like the breaking of a dam. It was grief. It was realization. It was the terror of seeing what one act had done to a heart God loved. Padre Pio felt his own breath falter. This was the moment few souls endure willingly. The moment when one sees not only the sin but the wound it caused and the love it injured. The soul trembled violently. Memories like shards of glass flashed through its being. The moment of deception. The moment of indifference. The moment the other heart broke in silence while the world kept moving. The monks said Padre Pio once spoke of this pain. He said nothing burns more deeply than seeing the harm one inflicted without excuse, without defense, and without the refuge of forgetfulness. The light intensified, not to crush but to purify, to cleanse the soul of illusion and bring it face to face with divine justice woven seamlessly with divine mercy. Padre Pio whispered a prayer under his breath. He felt the soul collapsing inward, as if curling around its own sorrow, but the light did not lessen. God does not hide truth even when it wounds. Truth heals by first uncovering. Then, something unexpected happened. The betrayed soul, the one whose heart had been wounded, was shown again. But this time, Padre Pio sensed something deeper. A quiet grace surrounded them, a grace the betrayer never knew existed. The wounded soul had forgiven, not with ease, not immediately, but truly. The revelation crushed the betrayer's heart, not with despair, but with a sorrow so pure that for the first time Padre Pio felt hope rise within it. Forgiveness, soft as dawn, rested on the wound like balm. And the betrayer understood, too late for earth, but not too late for God, that love had been offered even after betrayal. Padre Pio felt tears prick his eyes. The corridor shimmered faintly, as if heaven itself bowed over this hidden drama of mercy. And in that sacred moment, he sensed the soul's rigid darkness crack. A single fracture letting in a single ray of grace. The judgment was still unfolding, but mercy had entered, and mercy changes everything. The light softened, the trembling eased, and Padre Pio sensed the soul fall into a stillness it had never known in life. Not because judgment had ended, but because mercy had finally found a place to rest within it. The corridor around him felt warmer, as if the unseen world had exhaled. The shadows along the stone walls relaxed. Even the lone lamp at the far end burned with a steadier flame. Padre Pio did not speak. He simply watched as the soul's sorrow loosened its desperate grip. The harsh edges of regret melted into something quieter, almost gentle, like a wound that had stopped bleeding. He knew this was the point where many souls choose their final direction, not by will alone, but by truth embraced or truth resisted. The betrayer's soul did not flee. It did not cling to excuses. It did not hide behind the shadows it had lived in for years. It stood there, within that sacred light, and allowed God to show it the full breadth of its life. The harm done, the love rejected, the grace ignored, and yet the forgiveness offered by the one it wounded. The vision of that forgiveness remained shining before it, soft, steady, unforced. Padre Pio sensed that this single act of mercy carried more weight in judgment than every failure the soul had made. Because forgiveness is not merely a healing balm. It is an open door, a door God Himself places before even the most wounded heart. The soul trembled again, but with a different tremor. Not fear, not denial, but longing. Longing for the love it once pushed away. Longing for a truth it had been too proud to face. Longing for the God who had never stopped calling. Padre Pio lifted his hand very slightly, as if giving permission for the soul to receive what it had always needed. The light brightened, just a little. A warm shimmer flowed across the corridor, touching the stones, the air, and the friar's weathered face. He felt grace move, quiet as a sigh yet vast enough to change eternity. The soul bowed inward, a gesture not of defeat but of surrender. Its hardness broke, its defenses dissolved, and for the first time Padre Pio sensed not sorrow but peace, a fragile peace, a beginning peace, but real. He whispered a final prayer, not to command, not to direct, but simply to accompany the soul as it took its first true step toward the one who had waited for it so long. The presence slowly faded, not torn away, not cast out, but drawn gently into a place Padre Pio could no longer follow. The corridor fell quiet. The air grew still again. The thin veil closed. Padre Pio remained there a moment, eyes lowered, breath steady, heart silent. He knew what he had witnessed was not meant to frighten the living. It was meant to awaken them, to remind every heart that betrayal begins in small choices and healing begins in smaller ones. That judgment is truth, and truth is mercy when the soul allows it. That forgiveness, whether given or received, has the power to reshape eternity. He turned slowly and continued down the corridor, his steps soft. His spirit humbled his heart, carrying the quiet hope that those still living might choose truth now, before the light reveals what they can still change. If this story has lifted your soul even a little, I invite you to remain with this channel. Subscribe so we may meet again beneath the gentle light of all that is sacred.